My name's Professor Richard Dinsdale. I'm the Chair of Sustainable Environmental Systems at the University of South Wales. My area of speciality is microbial biotechnology, and what that really means is that I use bacteria to solve industrial problems or environmental problems. My role in rice is that I'm looking to develop two processes that I've been working on over the last 2 to 3 years. One on biodesulfurization, which is removing sulfur from the form of hydrogen sulfide in energy gases and convert that to sulfur in an inert form, which could be used for agricultural purposes or in chemical purposes. The other one is looking at refining CO2, carbon monoxide gases into chemical feedstocks and thus reducing carbon emissions. The chemicals that we're looking to produce initially will be volatile fatty acids, so mainly acetic acid, and acetic acid is what you put on your chips, so vinegar. Yeah. And the other types of acid that we aim to produce are propionic acid and butyric acid, and they're often found in smelly cheeses or smelly feet. So they're the same common type of chemical, slightly longer change, and actually smell worse as they get longer. Those chemicals, they have important value in themselves as chemical precursors for fragrances and perfumes, believe it or not. But their other role is that we're going to use it as a microbial media to make products like lipids and oils by feeding them to bacteria, or we could feed them to a type of yeast and make single-cell protein, either for animal food or potentially human consumption. And the other thing we're looking at is producing bioplastics, PHA. Many of these natural bioprocesses work in nature, and so there's a body of knowledge of how they work in nature, looking at the sulfur cycle, the carbon cycle, and particularly with the utilisation of carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide, is those bacteria evolved 3 to 4 billion years ago, and have managed to hang on and survive in little niches near volcanic vents, for example, or in the gut of animals. And so there's always been there to exploit. We would take a naturally occurring bacteria, a wild type bacteria, we would grow it up in a reactor, which is effectively a big tank. We would keep the conditions optimum for the bacteria, i.e. temperature or pH, and give it all the feed that it could eat. Right. Which is effectively all the waste. Rice is not really to initiate new research areas, it's more to take the things that we've been working in a laboratory and exploit them in a commercial and industrial setting. If you look at the environment as a whole, we are still very dependent on that environment for clean air, relatively low temperatures, rainfall, and I think sometimes we're a little bit arrogant is that we have total mastery of what we do, but actually when it comes down to it, we're still fundamentally dependent on those environmental conditions being reasonably right all of the time. You only have to have one really hot year in 10 and then you have a problem. And so it doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to have elevated temperatures or elevated rainfall all the time, but you just have these events and then it's much more challenging. And in my view, the use of carbon and the reduction in the emission of carbon is key to having a stable and reasonably benign world. And as soon as those environmental pressures get harder, it will only be that we have increased temperatures, but also stresses on water, stresses on agriculture, and that will feed back to us eventually.